Hey world. All right, Matthias Gabriel, gold. And then I got three all joined at the same time, so I don't know if I can do that. But Hater, you're silver, and Luis David PP 2704, you're gonna get the bronze, but only because those are the first three that came in as individual names. There were some other people that all jumped in together. So you know what? You're all winners. You're all medalists. We're all medalists, right? Aren't we now? There's no such thing as winning and losing. It's just participation trophies now. That's kind of the game. Oh, thanks, No Landscapes. You're aces too. I know it's been a minute since I've done an Instagram live, y'all. Sorry. Well, you know, life. The same shit we're all going through right now. I mean, honestly, yeah, I haven't been doing Instagram lives in large part because I've been struggling personally. It's been really gnarly. You know, this whole pandemic started, and I was actually, I don't know, there was a part of me that felt a weird hope in it. And I talked about that a lot in the beginning when I was doing the Instagram lives, you know, that I just think that this was a moment, if we could find the lessons in all of this, you know, and I think a lot of us are and have and will continue to. But if we can find the lessons and we can find the growth, and then this isn't just a big waste of time or just hardship. There's a lot of good that can be derived from this time. And I really did feel that way. And then I don't know. Then everything kind of amplified even more greatly. And I think here in the United States, particularly, there's been so much more of a divide amongst people on the left and the right, the blue and the red, and you know, it took an already very difficult time, and it threw gasoline on top of it. And as somebody who, I think I'm an empath, a pretty strong empath, I don't know. I've always carried a lot of care and love and burden sometimes with that, you know, and how I feel about other people and how I feel about this world and the impact that I wish to make, and helping as many people as I can and all this. And I just am looking at this country, you know, just literally ripping apart at the seams. Just, you know, it's been happening. It's been a slow build to where we are right now, but right now it's incredibly sad, and everybody reacts to that in different ways. And I've been trying to you know, be as helpful as I can in all of this, while simultaneously protecting my own heart and mind, and that's on top of all of the other things, you know, just whatever, just life in general, right? So yeah, so that's my long-winded way of saying I kind of had to step back from certain aspects of social media, just because it's been very difficult on my heart. And I wish that I had, and I'm still working on this, but, you know, better tools to be able to juggle and manage all of my feelings and all of my thoughts and all of my convictions. And but that's why I thought and I felt that today of all days was probably a good time to jump back on to Instagram Live. It's World Mental Health Day. So I figured I would get on here. I've got Active Minds. We're actively fundraising for Active Minds. Thank you, by the way, for the 34 people who have donated. We're up to like almost $700. That's so killer. Thank you. I would appreciate anyone and everyone feeling very led to donate to Active Minds. They're an incredible organization. They are providing mental health awareness and resources and education to all peoples that you would find on high school and college campuses all over the United States and hopefully even beyond at some point. Just incredible folks doing incredible work, and I think it's the most important. I've said before, and I'll say till I'm no longer breathing, that I think mental health is the most important thing that we need to be talking about at all times, because I think all other problems are rooted in poor mental and emotional health. We could fix everything right now. We could fix this country. We could fix the wars going on in other countries and all of the tensions and all of the hate and all of the anger and all of the fear. We could fix it all with good and proper healing of all of our hearts and all of our minds. So I can't stop fighting for it. It's the most important thing. I really, really, really believe that. But, now we're up to $800 and almost $900. You guys are the best. But yeah, so it's World Mental Health Day, guys. And I, wanted to start with just saying, reminding you all that you are not alone. That if you are out there and you are feeling any amount of sadness or anger or maybe really deep sadness, depression, anxiety, stress. And those are just some of the kind of more common things to feel. There's other things that people feel too. Bipolarity, borderline personality. There's a lot of narcissists out there too. They're dealing with their mental health. They're not aware of it. Nor will maybe they never will be. By the way, that's not exclusive to narcissists. Lots of people with lots of mental illness never become aware of their mental illness, partly because it's been so stigmatized for so long. So first, I want to say you're not alone if you're struggling with anything that's going on here. And I think mental illness is also emotional illness or unhealth or health. I think mental and emotional kind of go together in this very symbiotic relationship. So if you're struggling emotionally, I think it's kind of all part and parcel. So for all of you out there that are struggling with anything in your heart or in your mind, you are completely not alone. You are surrounded by other people who are struggling in their hearts and in their minds. And let me reiterate for those of you who have not heard this from me before, but I struggle in my mental and emotional well-being. I struggle. Some people out there might think, well, how could that be? You seem to have such a blessed life. And let me tell you, I do have a really blessed life. I also had a really crazy, mangled childhood. And a lot of us have. And even if you don't have a crazy mangled childhood, you can still learn a lot of bad mental and emotional habits and behaviors from society, from schooling, from your peers, whatever. And so if you think that celebrities or superheroes or anyone like that might be somehow completely immune to depression, I suffer with depression. I suffer with self-loathing. Anybody else out there just hate themselves on a regular basis? That might sound ridiculous, but let me tell you, I do. There's mornings I wake up and I'm like, what am I even doing? What am I doing? I'm failing my life. This is stuff I talked about, by the way, when I was doing the Shazam press tour. And I've gone to a lot of therapy to work through these things. And the truth is, I thought I had healed a lot more than apparently that I actually had. And I didn't realize until I was, like all of us, kind of sitting in all of this pandemic, the scare, in the United States, this polarity that's going on, sitting in it and not working, and realizing, holy shit, I didn't even realize how much of my own self-worth I derived from my work. If I was working, I felt validated. I felt like I was worth something. I had strangers saying, hey, get that Zachary Levi in here. We want him to play this role, see? Because, all producers and studio heads are still, Louis B. Mayer in the 1930s and 40s. Anyway, That started when I was a kid. When I was a kid, and I started doing theater, and I got the accolades and the applause of strangers that thought I was funny or silly or could sing a song adequately, and that became my worth and my value, and it stayed with me. I mean, shocker, right? If anybody's put any thought into artists, I suppose in general, but particularly actors, performance art. You really are needing that, like, that it's a symbiotic relationship where you're performing and they are making you feel like you're worth something by applauding it. Anyway, so I continue to struggle with these things. It is a journey. I mean, here's the irony, kids. I'm literally in the middle of writing a book, which I'm very proud of, and I'm very excited to finally get out to the world. And it was something I was actually very reluctant about because I'm only 40 and I've lived some life, but I haven't lived that much life. And also, like, I don't know that I'm an expert in anything. So what the hell does anybody need to hear any of my written words for? But the lovely folks at HarperCollins made a compelling enough argument to me, which was, hey, your journey essentially from suicide to superhero, that not wanting to live and then getting to ultimately go to therapy and then land this plum roll of Shazam all in a couple of months, like that's something that could be helpful for people to read about. And so that's what I'm writing about. And really the book is all about self-love, radically accepting ourselves and others, self and other love. That's what the book is about. I'm in the middle of writing it. And all of a sudden, I just start falling apart and hating myself. How's that for irony? How's that for also then I start hating myself even more because I'm like, well, what the fuck do I possibly have to say about self-love that's worth a damn if I still can't even apply it to myself? I mean, y'all, the head games, the things that are then flying through my head, I'm like, what am I doing? What is life? But I'm going to put that in the book too. I'll probably start the book with, so you're about to read some stuff about how it's important to love yourself and others. Just know that while I was writing it, I barely believed it myself. Because that's the lie. The lie is what makes you not want to believe what is true. Which sounds pretty basic, right? But that's the darkness. The darkness, that ick that you feel when you know that you're out of line with yourself or with others. That's darkness. And also, I think a lot of bad conditioning that shames us, things that we learned when we were younger. I think, the last live I did, I think it was the last live I did, called The Shame Game. I dove into a lot of the whole kind of shame concept, and excuse me, that should have been a lot louder. The shame concept is just all we do to ourselves and each other is shame. I mean, this is why we're in the predicament that we're in right now in this country. I really think to yourself, honestly, I don't, I've said before, I will never tell anyone who to vote for. I encourage people to vote. I also, by the way, I will encourage you to only vote, though, educate yourself before you vote, please, 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 please. It is a powerful thing that we get to vote. Powerful thing. And it should be protected, and it should be encouraged. But I don't think that we should just be willy-nilly voting. We shouldn't just encourage people to vote without educating themselves. We need to encourage people to educate themselves and then vote with that education. I think that's a very important part of the conversation that is not being had, which is unfortunate. And I understand why, because there's a lot at stake, right? Everyone is so amped up and they're so hyped up. But again, this is also not good for our mental health, because what's happening is one side is shaming the other side and vice versa. All it is eye rolls. I mean, look at the debates. I didn't watch the debates. I only saw little bits and pieces of them because I don't find them to be edifying or educational at all, to be perfectly honest. I don't think they've been edifying or educational for quite some time. All you really learn about any candidate is how well they can dodge the actual question or topic. And I already know that they're all liars, so, well, anyway, my humble opinion. But yes, I think it's madly important that if we're going to be encouraging everybody to vote, that we're doing it patiently, kindly, in love, not in shame, not guilt-tripping people, and encouraging them to educate themselves, and not us educate them on what we want them to do, but just trying to find nonpartisan or bipartisan materials on anything is a difficult thing nowadays, but we got to try and find it if we can. Anyway, I'll come back to voting later, but the point of that was this shame game that we keep playing. We wonder why we are so polarized. Well, because we're not talking to the other side. We're not saying, hey, I think you're a human being. I know that you're a human being that I completely disagree with. Completely. You and I could not be farther apart on the political spectrum, but you are still, at the end of the day, a human being, a child of God. And I wish for you to have the best life, and I think I've figured some things out. So can I share them with you? Can I talk to you about them? Will you allow me enough just space to say some things that may challenge what you think, but I'm going to say them in love and not shame, and then you'll be able to actually hear them and assimilate them. But we don't do that, guys. I mean, look at social media. Look at how we treat each other, and we wonder why our mental health, all of ours, collectively, is going down the tube, like just spiraling. That's a massive part of this. So, you're not alone. You're not alone. If you're struggling in your mental and emotional well-being, you are not alone. I mean, literally everybody is on some level. And in this country, we're going to need a lot of trauma therapy after this election. Well, really just, in general, but the amount of trauma being experienced right now on all sides. Y'all, and educate yourself about trauma too, because it's real. It's really, 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 really real. And all of us experience it, and it messes us all up in different ways. It makes you keep repeating bad habits, things that are really not healthy for you or in your best interest. Self-sabotaging bad habits. You'll repeat them your entire life. I am 40 years old, and I'm still doing shit that I learned when I was 4. Why? Because we have little supercomputers in our heads. And they get bad programming early on. And nobody went back in there to be like, wait a minute, that's bad code. Get that code out of there. Let's put some better code in there. That's what therapy is. That's what talking to a professional about understanding your own heart and mind. That's what that is. And we all need it. If you're out there right now and you think, sure, other people need that, but I'm good. You're wrong. You're just wrong. You might need less of it. Absolutely, some people need less reprogramming than others, but all of us need a little bit, at least. At least. Y'all, 102 donations, $3,000. You are thebomb.com. I can't even. If more of you feel led to give, I would love that. I'm going to keep living with you for a little bit longer. The weather is beautiful today. Look at that. Look at the view. It's so pretty. I got some flowers on the table. Got my little cowboy tub out there. Thanks, Yeti, for my pretty pink things. It's a nice coral. It kind of goes with my shirt. Got a water bottle, too. So nice. Feeling very blessed. And also still feeling a lot of anxiety. Oh, yes, you found Alexis French. Oh, I know. Isn't it? He's like I found him through a friend of mine is a student of a yoga teacher, and they were doing an online yoga deal, and the yoga teacher was like, play this Alexis French playlist. And I was like, what's this? Who's this person? I was like, dang, that's some good, like, modern yet classic feeling kind of piano, which I'm super into. It's crazy how our music tastes change, or really like our tastes in general, like legitimately change so much the older we get, because we, like when you're in your 20s, or at least for me anyway, it was like, go, 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 fun, fun, fun. I just want the upbeat stuff. And I still love me some upbeat dance music. Don't get me wrong, still my favorite. But now I find myself in these moments where I'm like, I just want peace. I just want peace. I want peace in my heart and peace in my mind and peace in my body and healing. Like, I just want to work properly. I just want my heart and mind and soul and body to be working properly. That's all. Is that so much to ask? Also, take care of yourselves. Like, I know it's really tempting in your 20s to want to just go buck wild. Go ape shit, go buck wild. But just remember, how you take care of your body in your 20s is how you feel in your body in your 40s and beyond. Your 30s, you're still kind of good. And then it all starts to be like, what? Oh, wow, posture, wow. It's a thing, y'all. How is the stomach issues? Yeah, the stomach issues are still there, unfortunately, which is really disappointing. They're a little bit better. I did yet another poop test. Sent that one off to some doctor in Africa in infectious diseases. We'll see if anything comes from that. I don't know. The last time I did one of those send away poop tests, it turned out I had, and this was after, by the way, some of you are like, what the hell is he even talking about? Listen, if you've been following me for a minute, you know about my poop problems. But so after having been diagnosed with an amoeba, E. histolytica, and SIBO, and taking medication for both of those, and finding out I have a hiatal hernia, so that's kind of screwing with my acid reflux and stuff. We couldn't figure it out. There's nothing beyond that. There was no other things. And so then I did another test, and then that one came back and it said that all that other stuff was taken care of, but I had H. pylori, which is like another bad bacteria thing to build up in you. And I also had like no good gut bacteria, which is no bueno. No bueno, guys. You need to take it from 40-year-old me. You need to have really good gut flora in your body. It is imperative to how your body will continue to take care of itself. Our bodies are incredibly powerful machines, like supercomputers for brains and powerhouses for bodies, if we feed them properly, if we move them properly. It's incredible how much healing you can do. But if you're not taking care of it, then, them's the breaks. And I think I've taken care of myself pretty well throughout my life, but I've also had a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I think, it's important. It's imperative that you take care of your gut health. Go look that up. Probiotics, prebiotics, that kind of stuff. Yes, somebody's asking me. Yes, I take probiotics and prebiotics a lot. But anyway, so the problem was I had H. pylori. The last test was H. pylori and no good gut bacteria. And I didn't want to try and take another antibiotic to kill the H. pylori because I had no good gut bacteria. Because that's another problem. Every time you take antibiotics, you're killing good gut bacteria, guys. So I've been trying to do it naturally, get rid of this H. pylori or whatever the hell else is going on in me. And I don't know that it's working, to be honest. I don't know. So I just did another poop test. That's been sent off. I'm waiting to find out if if I put a dent at all in the H. pylori, and if my good gut bacteria is up, if it's on the rise. And then we'll figure out what to do after that. Your boys and you have colitis? What is that? Is colitis genetic, or is there a genetic predisposition to that? That's a lot. Somebody just asked what Active Minds is. I think you can there should be the ability to click on them. Maybe, I don't know. But you can also go back, to the beginning of this live once I post it. But they're an incredible nonprofit that provides mental health awareness, education, and resources on high school and college campuses all over the United States. And Allison Malman, their founder, is just an incredible individual and human being who wants to really help people, like, as do the rest of the people, the lovely people that work there. But they're doing God's work. I really think it's some of the most important. I think mental health is the most important thing we need to talk about, but I also think that being able to address mental and emotional health concerns with individuals in their high school and college years is prolific. I think that we need that. We should absolutely be doing that, because that's where our young minds kind of first start to shape the world on our own. Prior to that, you're under your parents' and families' ideas much more strongly. Not that you can't have therapy when you're younger. I encourage that too. Some people are like, listen, get in at elementary school. I'm like, whatever we can do to help people see themselves and reality clearly and see how they clearly fit into reality, I think that is, that's what I'm about. And that's what these guys do. So yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about mental health as well, and then I can get back to answering some more questions, I suppose. But Active Minds is here, yeah. Y'all, I went and spoke at. I did a keynote speech at the Active Minds big gathering that they had in Washington D.C., and I was a mess. I think it's probably a hallmark of there's still a lot more healing that I have to do, that when I get up to talk about my mental health journey, I'm still like inconsolable sobbing. It's it's not a good look. It's an authentic look, and I always just aspire to be as authentic as possible. But geez Louise, I was like, and I don't even, like, prior to getting on the stage, I was fine. And then all of a sudden I'm on the stage and I'm reading this speech and talking about, my mom and just how gnarly my whole relationship and journey with her was. And that's where a lot of my personal mental and emotional wellness comes from, was in my relationship with my mom specifically. But I got up on that stage and I could barely read through my own words. I wrote them. I had practiced them. I was off stage. I was okay. And then all of a sudden I was just like, I was wrecked. But I was grateful that I got to go and do that. And I hope it was somewhat edifying to those who came. But yeah, y'all, I can't emphasize strongly enough just how important it is that we become very, 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 very mindful of this specific thing that we are all doing right now. This phone or tablet that you might be watching on, or laptop. This virtual portal that we all base essentially our entire lives off of. It is not lost on me, the irony of me talking about the dangers of social media, using social media to do so, but if the world wasn't fissured enough, now we are fissuring ourselves individually, moment by moment, every single time we open up these apps. We are looking at literally filtered, false, manufactured, curated life. You're not looking at real life when you look at this. You're being sold either products, and by the way, I'm guilty of that. I mean, I try to do it in a way that's respectful of our relationship, you know what I mean? And I only try to sell what I know to be good stuff. But regardless, we're either being sold actual things or we're being sold on an idea of what life is supposed to look like. by people who we don't know and aren't even really living those lives. I mean, I just recently have you heard of hype houses? I suppose I should have just assumed that stuff like this happens, but like TikTokers and Instagrammers and Facebookers or what, I don't know, name a platform now. They'll just go and rent a house for a weekend or a week or whatever and just get all this content and like, oh my God, I'm balling. Look at I'm balling. Life is everything. Blah, 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 blah. And none of it's theirs. That's not even their life. And we buy it. Every single one of them that we follow, we are endorsing that. Every reality show that we watch, we are stamping our approval on. And guys, I know a lot of you are like, listen, I know it's bullshit, but I just follow them because they're a guilty pleasure. There's no room for guilty pleasuring anymore like that. We can't. Because the money doesn't care. The money at the top doesn't care if we think they're a guilty pleasure or if we actually believe that they are a real person or a real thing. The money's just going to pay them regardless, which means they're going to become even more false of a reality for all of us to watch, for all of us to then compare ourselves against. That is dangerous. That is so dangerous. So I not too long ago, I posted a recommendation on my Instagram to watch The Social Dilemma. It's a documentary. It's on Netflix. I highly recommend it. If you have not already seen it, I highly recommend it. I think we all need to watch it. I think we all need to have our friends and family watch it. And I think we all need to figure out how we can move forward as a people, embracing the cool, beneficial powers of the interwebs and all that comes with the interwebs. But we need to figure out how to balance this stuff and really, I don't know, like hold it all more accountable. We have to want better. We have to want better. Collectively, we have to want better. And that means tuning out the stuff that's false, the stuff that's fake, the stuff that is leading us astray. All in the name of, we don't mean to be real. It's just whatever. Because we're supporting that, And they'll take it, guys. They will take us all the way. This is the beginning. If you've never seen the movie by Mike Judge, Idiocracy, go watch that. Go watch The Social Dilemma and watch Idiocracy. I mean, that's where we're going. If not already there in some way, shape, and form. We got to be really careful with ourselves, with our children, with the rest of our families, with our neighbors. And remember that all of this stuff is not built to draw us together. It's not. Our politicians don't want us groovy. They don't want us loving ourselves or each other. They want us upset. They want us upset with the situation and each other and blaming. Because then they, on either side, get to swoop in and say, we got you. We got you. Put your trust in us, and we'll go take care of those bad guys. Those bad guys. Other human beings that are scared, that are lost, that are trying to figure out some semblance of safety in these crazy times. And I don't see anybody on either side, to be perfectly honest, who's preaching love, who's preaching patience and grace and turning the other cheek and, give them your cloak as well, that kind of stuff. Loving your enemy, loving your persecutor. I don't see that anywhere. And by the way, not everybody subscribes to that kind of stuff, and that's up to you. That's your prerogative, but I do. I don't think we're going to get out of this at all until we finally, as a people, now or 100 years from now, or this whole thing all gets like eviscerated, and then thousands, if not millions of years from now, some new, form of society has grown again, just all the way to the point of, do they implode? Do they finally fucking get it that they need to love themselves and each other, or do they all just collapse? I don't know. I don't know what our options are. But we're not getting any closer to the love thing so long as we keep vilifying the other side, as if they're not also just scared human beings who are taught different things. Newsflash. That's what it is. Those people that you hate online, the people that you feel hate you online, and they might hate you online, they are literally just a version of you with a different past and a different upbringing and different education and different programming, who are also in a really messed up, broken, scary world. We have to see them that way. We have to embrace them that way. And it doesn't mean not have boundaries. It doesn't mean you're not allowed to say, this is where I end and you begin, and you don't get to come into this. But I will gladly give space for you to exist and for us to discuss. We got to lead in love, y'all. We got to lead in love. It's the only way forward. And right now there's precious little of that I see. Crossing the aisle. There's plenty of love within the sides. Although I don't even know that a lot of that is love. I think so many people are terrified, even within their own ranks, because of cancel culture, because of the shame game, because of everything, you know? Like, there's so few people that actually have the confidence and ability to be able to speak their mind without any penalty or persecution. That's terrifying, by the way. That is not free speech. That is not what literally what this country is founded on. But y'all, I mean, I would ask yourself, how free do you think you've been able to actually speak about certain things? Anything. You might agree with most of the things that are, you know, politically correct and kind of on the level. You might agree with most of them. You might have a few like, I don't know, but you're like, oh, but I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to piss anybody off, and I certainly don't need, you know, everybody coming for me with pitchforks on social media. It's really disappointing because once we've lost civil discourse, once we've lost the ability to actually completely disagree with somebody, really not like them, but allow their existence. Once we've lost that ability, I don't even know what we are anymore. But I can assure you we're going to need a hell of a lot more trauma work, a hell of a lot more mental health and emotional health healing. I mean, all right, let's go to some questions. Any questions? Angela, you lost your job because of cancel culture. I am really sorry to hear that. I've heard of you know, quite a few people that have been in that position, and look, let me just also just say that I'm not opposed to holding people accountable for things that they say that they ought not say, that are dangerous on a level that very much collectively is agreed upon. I mean, using the most extreme example, but like being in a theater and yelling fire, right? There's a reason why you're not legally allowed to do that, because you are causing a problem, a legitimate problem for everyone other than yourself by saying fire, yelling fire in a theater. There are other things that we need to be very mindful of when people start to spread certain terms that collectively we know, all of us, left, right, blue, red, doesn't matter. We know, hey, that's beyond the pale. That's not. This isn't censorship. This is And again, that does become tough. I'm not saying that even that, like, where is that line? I'm not even going to begin to get into that line. I'm just leaving room in this conversation we're having for that there are those examples. And also, I believe in the free market sense of, I won't say cancel culture, but repercussion. If you don't like something, if you don't like the way that a business does what a business does, don't shop there. Don't engage there. Don't support there. I think that's a great way to show your distaste for a person or a place or whatever. It's when it starts becoming like weaponized beyond the individual that I think we have real issues. You know what I mean? So it's one thing to be like, I personally don't like this place. If people ever ask me why I don't like this place, I'm happy to tell them, but I'm just not going to work. I'm just going to shop here anymore. And if somebody asks, I say, yeah, well, they did this, and I took umbrage with that. That's not how I roll. So I'm not going to go there anymore. You're welcome to. If you want to still keep going to that place, even though they did this or said that, that's up to you. But I personally am not going to do that. That is taking responsibility for how you feel about a thing and not somehow burdening everyone else with the responsibility just because you feel slighted or you feel like that's not right for you. But cancel culture is that's a whole nother level, guys. That's like, I don't like this place and you shouldn't like this place. And if you do still like this place, I'm going to cancel your ass too. And then it's shame. Then it's just everyone's running around shamed and scared. Like, I don't want to be on the wrong side. I don't want to be on the wrong side. And then we're just jumping. We're just jumping around trying to be on the right side of the wrong thing. I mean, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. But I highly encourage anyone and everyone to use the free market to protest, to boycott, But but just remember the way in which you do it. You want to tell people the truth about how you were treated somewhere or what someone did to you? That's fine. Remember that when you say those things about that person, that they're still a human being. That they said and did whatever you take umbrage with because of their brokenness, not because they're evil. They're not twirling a mustache. There's no dynamite on a train track. They might look like and sound like the enemy to you, and they are still a human being. We can absolutely keep people from doing things that they ought not be doing without completely dehumanizing them and not giving them any grace to even re-enter society. I mean, look at some of the people that are, the ways in which it's not just it's gone beyond just canceling. There's a whole, like, that person should die. We should, I mean, to me this really does feel like the modern equivalence of just like public hangings and executions. Mob rule, witch burning. Like, I've said this before, y'all, but and I don't even know that much about the French Revolution, but I can tell you, this is basically like a modern digital version of that. Those people were pissed off, and had right to be pissed off in a lot of ways. But they then started this revolution where it was off with their heads. That's just what it was. That was the common practice of ending the life of someone who deserved, in their mind, to be outdone on this planet. They serve no more purpose, and they don't deserve to live anymore, based on what they have done or said or whatever it was. And so they would bring out the guillotine and they would chop their heads off. And the people who started doing that, like the first initial revolutionaries who came in and like got rid of the man, and started chopping all the heads off. By the end of the French Revolution, it was their very heads that were in the guillotine. Because they had started, they created this monster that they couldn't stop. And then everyone was being held to some kind of behavior that even they couldn't walk perfectly without flailing enough for someone under them to go like, oh, you screwed up. You said the wrong thing. You did the wrong thing. Off their head. Same thing happened in communist Russia. I mean, I'm not trying to get too political here, guys. I'm just saying. I genuinely, this has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with love. Through our politics, we have to treat people with love. If we are not actually loving people at the bottom of what our political view is, what the fuck are we even doing? Why do we care? Then it's just about us. Or us being right about something. If we hate our way to the future, we will hate the future. We will not be happy. There will not be joy. There will not be grace and patience and calm and enjoying the earth that we might hopefully save. We'll just want to keep destroying each other over and over and over and over again. Fissures will continue to happen because all of a sudden somebody will be like, we got red and blue right now. What happens in like 200 years if somehow there's some crazy civil war, but the victors, like these people all died, but the victors stay together. Oh, but hold on a second. Now there's fractures and fissures happening in there, and now they hate each other. I mean, what are we doing? Anyway, by the way, just because I mentioned it and I think it's worth discussing, I'm not saying there's going to be a civil war. I do find it scary, fascinating, that, like, I'm a post-apocalyptic video game, comic book movie kind of guy. I love that shit. But the idea of like the comic book DMZ, for example, which is great. It's a graphic novel DMZ. You should definitely check it out. But it's like there's a civil war that happens, a modern day civil war, and the country's all split up and stuff. Like, I entertain those ideas in the more fantastical sense, like in those types of fiction. Never did I ever think we'd actually, truly, even come close to something like that. And now, and all of a sudden, there's people outside of me here on podcasts and things, and they're half joking, but they're saying the words civil war. And I go, I mean, we've never been, that I know of, in my 40 years of life, which is nothing, by the way, but I don't know that I've ever seen our country closer to some crazy shit like that. And if we don't want that, we have to love. If you don't want the people actually shooting at each other, which is already kind of starting to happen in some of these protests and back and forth, if we don't want that to be how we treat each other, we have got to love each other. We have got to do it. We have got to extend that grace. We have to extend that love. We have to start looking at each other like our 5-year-old selves and saying, oh my gosh, look at that little kid. He had so much, or she had so much promise and potential, and then they were programmed by their broken parents and family and schools and community and society, and they have become this, while simultaneously being humble enough to recognize that we are also broken, because our parents and family and community and school and society and all of that jazz were not perfect by a long fucking shot, guys. This is mental health. I also think it's what Jesus was talking about when he was down here. There's none righteous, not one. None, nobody. We are not righteous. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what faith you are. I don't care how well you follow the rules of or tenets of your faith or religion. I don't care how many homeless shelters you give your time to, how many old ladies you help across the street. None of us is righteous. There's not one person that is so good that they are incapable or shouldn't be still humbling themselves to another human being. There is not one person that we cannot humble ourselves to in light of that they are a human being. But that's what we're taught. You have been taught that hate. All the taught hate is now coming out right now in our streets, in our homes, in our country, in our world. And it's terrifying. I'm with you. If you're scared right now, if you're sitting at home and you're looking at the news, which is probably the worst thing you can be looking at, just FYI. I mean, do whatever you want to do. If it's edifying and you're actually learning from whatever news source you're watching, God bless you. I have yet to find one that I feel edified by, that I feel informed, without agenda, without ego, without opining left and right. I don't know a news source that I feel is pure enough where I'm like, cool, I get little headlines and things in different places, but the point is, if you're out there and you're watching all of this shit and you're feeling uneasy, you are not alone. It's scary. It's scary how many of the people that we have entrusted with the leadership of this country don't seemingly actually care about human life or plant life or animal life or just life in general. Just life in general. That's magic. Life is magic. Life is the only magic left. And we take it all for granted. And it's terrifying. And the ways in which they are talking to us and about us and for us is terrifying, in my opinion. Yeah. And all those things then, circling all the way back again, though so many of those things, after the first couple of months of the pandemic and feeling like, I think, and like I said, I still do think there's good that will come and can come from the pandemic, but I was really high on that in the beginning. And then a lot of this other stuff started popping up, and the what went from a lot of Americans actually kind of working together in the beginning of the pandemic, then all those other things and all the politicization, I think that's right, of all of these things, including the virus. You just see the ugliest sides of so many people, and it's like, here's this person that I love that just wants to, I'm gonna destroy anyone and everyone that doesn't agree with what I say. Clearly they're evil. And it's like, do you not even see the hardening and darkness of your own heart to have to feel that way about somebody else, to have to feel like you want to destroy them? And we all do. We all have those moments. I'm not saying I have not had moments in my life where I was so angry, so distraught with something that someone, a leader of our country, has said or done or whatever, that I was like, but then that's what you got to recognize and go, whoa, wait a minute. We cannot allow ourselves to become the monsters that we are trying to slay. In the process of slaying them. We can't. That's just replacing. It's just, there's darkness. I'm going to become darkness to kill the darkness to then be the darkness. Oh, here's dark. I'm going to become darkness to kill the darkness to be darkness. We're stuck in this loop. So yeah. So then the rest of all of this has been a super gnarly time. And so that's why I have, as I said in the beginning of this broadcast, why I've taken a little bit of a step back off of all of this, because I honestly didn't feel like I had a lot of joy to even spread or much to say, or that I should be saying anything. And I was, and still continue to be, kind of struggling. I'm struggling. My anxiety's kicked through the roof. I haven't worked all year long, and that, like a lot of people, by the way. And I didn't realize just how much of my own self-worth I derived from working, from being productive. And so that is, that's been gnarly. And then I go into these spirals. And how many of you guys, like I was saying earlier, you deal with self-loathing, self-criticizing. I can't even, oh man. And I've gone a lot of therapy to work on this stuff. But guys, it's a journey. So don't give up on yourself either. That's another thing I wanted to remind you of on World Mental Health Day. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the process. I think that's part of one of my major issues is that I struggle in my patience with anything, but particularly myself. And so, it's like getting into the gym. You want it to be, well, I showed up for a week and now I'm ripped, but it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. But if you show up enough weeks, it does work. Same thing with mental health. That's your physical health. Mental health, same thing. You're not just going to show up for a week or a month and all of a sudden everything's fixed in your life. It takes more time than that to undo a lifetime of other pains and hurts and traumas. And so do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on yourself. If you are struggling, and then get into therapy. And if you're still struggling while you're doing therapy, know that it takes some time. It takes some time. And yes, get rid of the stigma. Get rid of the stigma. There is no, well, I'm just going to say there isn't. I mean, there is stigma, which is unfortunate, but I'm going to get rid of it by saying, fuck it, forget it. There should be none, and I refuse to accept that there will be. There's only stigma. Stigma is, again, by the way, that's also tied to shame. You feel shame because you feel like you're broken and other people are not broken. Because that's the narrative that's been spun around mental health for so long. Mental health was, they have mental health problems. And when they, that's put them in a fucking straitjacket, throw them in a rubber room, and that was mental health. No. Mental health is far more nuanced and complicated than that. It is even more so than physical health in many respects, but comparable. I liken it to, I like to liken it to going to the dentist, right? Like, in the same way that your physical health, there's a spectrum. You can have anything from, in the dental world, you could have a teeny little cavity on one end of the spectrum, or you could need a complete, root canal on this side, on the other, on that side of the spectrum. And there's so many different levels of, actually, not even a cavity. This is just a teeth cleaning. Your teeth were so good, all you needed was a cleaning. And then here's a root canal on this side, okay? And every last bit of your dental health is somewhere in there. Same thing with mental health. Dental health and mental health, guys, come on. Mental health, you can have anything from, hey, I'm feeling on this side, feeling pretty groovy and feeling a little stressed, and you kind of work, feeling a little anxiety, feeling some depression, whatever it is on the spectrum, all the way to, oh, wow, they're having a proper, full-on breakdown episode where they actually might need to be put into some kind of a jacket or into a room to prevent themselves from hurting themselves or others. That is the farthest thing on a spectrum. Most of us are living over here, but we're there. We're there. Having a cavity is having some anxiety. The problem is that we don't mind going to the dentist to get our cavity taken care of because nobody's shaming us for it. Or you don't feel shamed because there is no stigma attached to that. But that's how we have to look at mental health. I mean, it's that simple. We got to go, I'm feeling anxiety. In the same way that, I think I have a cavity. Oh, man, I'm feeling really depressed. In the same way we might say, man, I think I might need to get my tooth, root canal, whatever. Not that anxiety is likened to a cavity and depression to a root canal, but you understand what I'm saying. There's levels of seriousness. And if you can take care of it when it's a smaller issue, it doesn't become the larger issue. That's why so many of us need mental root canals by the time we're 40, because we had cavities that started when we were 4. And we never took care of them. They were never cleared out. They were never seen and then attended to. And so then you get into middle age and you're like, Jesus, why do I struggle with this thing or that thing so deeply? Why do I have a hard time getting out of bed thinking that I'm failing my life? This is this thing that's plagued me my entire life. I feel like I'm failing all the time. And I know that there are plenty of you out there that probably feel the same way. And which again, which is why I bring it up. You're not alone. We're not alone. And the darkness wants us to think that all the time. You are broken and only you are broken, and nobody can help you and nobody wants to hear about it. And that's all bullshit. That's all a lie. I can't put it any more plainly than that. Thank you for all of the continued donations, guys. I'm just noticing 152 donations, $4,182.87 raised for Active Minds. You are awesome. How do I? Ooh, that's a good question. How do you cope? Oh, sorry, hold on. How do you cope with overworking yourself to feel self-worth? That's a good question. How do you cope with overworking yourself to feel self-worth? Well, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever overworked myself to feel self-worth. I get defeated before I overwork myself to feel self-worth. Look, I think I don't know if this helps answer that at all, but I think ultimately it is very much letting go of attachment, or kind of, Buddhist philosophy of not, letting go of attachment to good or bad feeling or whatever, or expectation, and just allowing yourself to be right there, right then, with no judgment that you should be somewhere else, looking a different way. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we do to ourselves. We have all of this, we build up all of these expectations of ourselves based on these little windows that we look at all the time. I should look this way. I should be doing these things. I should have that kind of car and that kind of spouse and live in that kind of house. Hype house. And be eating at these kinds of restaurants. And then I'll be happy. Those people are so unhappy. Just FYI. Maybe not all of them. A lot of them are. A lot of those, they're chasing the dragon. They have to constantly post on their Instagrams to keep up this thing, to keep and they're, checking the likes and making sure, and and by the way, monetizing it, going and making money doing it. But I think there's going to be a lot of mental health conversations they're going to have in not too long with themselves, because that's a really scary way to go make a living. I don't know. I think mentally and emotionally, that's really not a great way to go and make a living, to be perfectly honest. But I don't know. I don't do it. I don't do that, so I don't know. Anyway, going back to your question about how do you cope with that, I think it's how do we almost cope with anything, which is radically accepting it. Radically accepting exactly who you are, where you are, when you are, and being okay with it. And knowing that you'll do as much self-love work as you can. And then you won't. Or whatever, But I think at the end of the day, we're so much of what we're doing is in our self-love struggles is that we're beating ourselves up, right? We are not doing the things we think we're supposed to be doing, accomplishing the goals that we think we are supposed to be accomplishing on the timetables that we have put out there. And you have to forgive yourself of that. You have to just accept that and say, well, there is none. And I think, I don't know, for me anyway, something that always helps me in a little way is I try to always, I think part of what drives our mental and emotional struggles sometimes is this feeling like deep down we're not worth anything, or we're worthless, or whatever that is. And so then we're trying to find worth in accomplishment, right? We're almost overcompensating because we don't feel the worth internally, naturally. And so then it's like, well, let me go make my mark, or I'll do, whatever this is going to be. And we think if I just accomplish X, then my life will have been worth it. But that's not true. I don't think. it's very easy for us to give more worth to certain individuals that seemingly have, accomplished incredible things throughout human history. But I don't know that made them any more valuable, like actually valuable in the whole course of everything. Because, I mean, there are emperors of entire, empires, emperors of empires. In fact, I would say most of them, nobody remembers. Very few people remember. Very few people know world history well enough to know all of the emperors and all that they accomplished and all that they did and all the people that they ruled over and all that stuff. So chances are you're just going to get lost in the annals of time anyway. It doesn't matter what you accomplish. It'll be lost eventually. So then, was that really your worth, And I think that's one of the things that I actually try to remember or remind myself of. Oh yeah, you're kind of a speck. We're specks. But in some ways I find that incredibly comforting and beautiful and helpful. I think we are infinitely, all of us, infinitely potentially valuable. We can do so many things, should we be conditioned or taught to do so, or love ourselves enough to get there, and put the time in. We can accomplish almost all things, and yet we are then also contrastly we are entirely insignificant, because God or the universe can use whomever it wants. We are here for a moment. And hopefully we can muster as much love for ourselves and others as we can in the moment that we are here, to push us in the direction globally of love and not of fear. And this, I am afraid we're doing a lot of this. We're all pushing each other in the direction of fear, which is calamity. That will be a bad place for us to all travel to, and the end of us ultimately, I think. But we can row on the other side of the boat. Pull it around. We gotta pull it around for love, guys. Anyway, all right. Let's do a few more questions, and then I'm gonna jump off of here. This is for Squigs. I don't know. What's your name? It's Squigs. Squigs, yes. I'm telling your friend Aaron Carter right now that he needs to watch Shazam. Or, excuse me. I think that he said you wanted him to watch Chuck. Well, he should watch Shazam too. And Chuck. Hey, Aaron Carter and Zachary Levi. You need to watch Chuck. And all of the things. Oh, man, it got so warm out here all of a sudden. I gotta turn some fans on. Dang. Odin's Son 97. This is me saying hello to your wife, Kately. I haven't seen that one. Like Caitlin, but without the N. So would it be Kately? What kind of meditation do I practice? Honestly, I've been struggling practicing any meditation whatsoever. I did some mindfulness meditation earlier in my therapy journey, but I'll probably try and get back to that. Some mindfulness meditation. It's so hard. I know that once you're in a vibe and a flow of it, it gets a lot easier. But talk about active minds, overactive mind over here. Which is even more reason why I should be doing meditation. I understand, but it makes it that much more difficult, I think. Did I have to shop around for the right therapist? No, not necessarily. I think I've been pretty lucky in that, like, the therapists that I've gone to, of which there have been many different ones, but that's partly because of locale and also because of when I went to this retreat basically in Connecticut that saved my life. There was a whole lineup of different therapists, psychiatrists, life coach, psychotherapists, dialectic behavioral therapist, art therapist, meditation therapist. It was the whole nine. I was on, well, I don't know that I want to say I was on death's door, but I kind of was. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to live anymore. That was all like incredible to have all of those different people kind of, be able to look at where my heart and mind were and help to guide me with different, information and education and tools and things of that nature. But ultimately it was the love that I felt from, outside from, some very dear friends and family that helped me to believe in loving myself again. That coupled with the tools that I learned, but as I found out, as it turned out, that was what I suffered from. I think the most. I think I suffer from a lot of things. I mean, I grew up with like I said earlier, some very interesting parents. My mom was a borderline personality narcissist. I'm pretty sure. I mean, certainly a borderline personality. And by the way, narcissism, I think, exists in everyone, at least on some small degree. It's a spectrum too. But to be a clinical narcissist is a pretty intense thing. Like, I think Donald Trump actually is a clinical narcissist. And again, that's not a poke. That's not a political. I'm just calling a spade. Or what I believe to be a spade anyway. But yeah, somebody who I think, I don't know that I don't know that my mom was really all that narcissistic now that I'm thinking about it, because I think my mom had really deep empathy. And that's a pretty big hallmark of a narcissist, is like you really lack a lot of empathy for others. Like, it's kind of like you're doing what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what other people think or feel. And if you've wronged them, they tell you, you're like, whatever, you know what I mean? Life goes on, or you've rationalized to yourself that you didn't wrong them or whatever. I find Donald Trump to do a lot of that kind of stuff. I think he's very much about himself and likes, he's in it for him, I think, ultimately. And I don't think I think at the end of the day, my mom probably wasn't a narcissist, but she was definitely, or she might have had a little bit, but she was definitely a borderline personality. And that was because she was, abuse. Why? What were we talking about? Now I've forgotten what the question was. But just talking about like what my issues were specifically. Yeah, self-love was like, one of the biggest. But like, because I had a borderline personality parent, and by the way, for those of you who are wondering what is a borderline personality, so a borderline personality is, it's not multiple personality so much as it's somebody who their personality is kind of always on a borderline, like on a little fulcrum almost, you know what I mean? And depending on their mood, they can very easily, or depending on what happens in the day, their mood can change very rapidly. So their personality is always on a borderline. That's kind of the way I like to look at it. And so, daily, my mom could hit highs and lows, and she may have been physiologically, she might have suffered from some form of bipolarity as well. I don't know. I might even, for that matter. I don't know. That's I've never been diagnosed that, but I definitely have experienced like some really intense emotional swings in my life. But I tie them more to events in my life so much. It doesn't just like happen. It's like some perfect storm of shit goes down, and then all of a sudden I'm not loving myself again. But my mom, man, from day to day, it could be like you didn't know which mom you were going to get. Sometimes moment to moment, it could split like that. And so it's fascinating what I've learned about myself and what I learned to do, how to cope with that. You had to be ready for everything with a mom like that. You are on your toes all the time. and able to pivot and shift and improvise and, whatever. And those things actually all, I think, lent themselves well to, in some ways, even being an actor, but beyond that, caring about other people. I didn't realize just how much having to accommodate a borderline personality mom made me efficient at being aware of empathy, of being like, what does the situation need right now? How can everybody feel comfortable right now? And like, I've gone on and I love hosting. I love having friends and family over and parties and things. I think a lot of that's all, if you look at it, you go, oh, wow, it's all tied together. It's all tied together. I like making sure everybody's okay, partly because I just love people, but partly because it was literally how I was programmed as a child. Be ready for anything. Be ready for it. And then as an actor, improv and, living in the moment and all that jazz, and being able to step back and forth and not get hit with the sledgehammer that was my mom. And it was, y'all. Whoo, boy. Not physically hit me, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, just pop, gone. And like I said, that's because she was traumatized by her mother. I've been able to have a lot of forgiveness for my mom, who I had a very complicated relationship with, and she died very tragically and too young at 65 from basically not loving herself, ultimately. And she learned that from her mom, and I learned that in turn. And we have to break these generational curses, guys. This is on us. It's on us. Nobody can do it for you. It's tragic too. It feels very tragic because I understand what it means to feel like a victim. I understand why people have victim mentality. I struggle with my own victim mentality. But it gets you nowhere because nobody actually can do that work for you. Remaining a victim is never going to get you out of that. It will only ever keep you there. Because if anybody does come to try and help, normally they're there to soothe whatever this moment of the victim mentality kind of flaring up. But then all that does is like teach you to do it more, so you get more soothing, And we have to break out of this stuff. We have to be like, okay, that happened to me. That happened. I can't change it. They can't change it. They did it. It was their responsibility. Your parent, whoever might have traumatized you, but they still can't change it. And even if they apologize, it doesn't go away. It helps to be able to grieve with that person if you can and work through that stuff. I definitely think that's a balm, a salve to help kind of work that out. But at the end of the day, my mom died. I don't have her to work through this stuff with. I got to go work through it myself. And it sucks. I wish somebody could come and just take all this pain out of my heart and out of my mind. I wish somebody could come and just completely wipe all of the bad programming and all of the trauma and put in all the good stuff. Magically, like that, I wish. But it doesn't. It doesn't exist. Fortunately, the tools exist. The help exists. The assistance for us to do it for ourselves exists. So that's what I keep seeking. That's what I'll keep seeking with you. I will continue to encourage you to do the same always. I'll keep writing this book, even though I feel like a fraud writing it. Genuinely. Yes and no. Like I said, I've kind of processed it and realized, well, it is a full journey your whole life. So you can still speak truth, even though you struggle believing in it yourself. But it still does kind of feel like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Maybe a lot of people who write books feel that way. Like I'm talking about something I'm not qualified to talk about and whatever. But I do hope that once it's out and in y'all's hands, should you choose to buy it, that it's something that is edifying and helpful and healing for your life. Because that's really all I want to put into the world. I want to bring us to love. I want to row with you. I want to roll with you to love. 165 donations, $4,432.87. You guys are so kind and so generous, particularly in a pandemic world. I know that, finances are tight for a lot of y'all. All right, I'm going to give it, if we can reach 4,500, that would be awesome. And then I'll probably sign off for now. I have not read Uninvited. Was that good? By the way, if you're unable to donate, y'all, please don't feel any shame or bad or pressure or anything. I just love that finally Instagram put this option up, because I like doing lives, but we might as well raise a little money here and there if we can do it, Any more questions? Why do I like Frank Sinatra? What? Why wouldn't anyone like Frank Sinatra? I mean, he was, the Michael Jordan of jazz standards, big band, like that whole world. He's like OG entertainment royalty, Frank Sinatra. Incredible voice. Kind of, just insane, incredible legacy in life that he lived. The amount, that was also like a completely different time and world, right? Like there's things I'm really grateful for that we have nowadays, that they did not have back in the, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. But I don't know, there was something that just like how classy everything was, and how simple everything was. And also, if you were a really famous person in the 1950s, like internationally famous, you were one of very few people. Now, again, going back to like influencers and all, like being famous doesn't mean shit anymore. It doesn't matter. Not that it ever really should have meant anything. I'm not saying, I'm not big on the whole popularity contest regardless, but the point is, it actually used to mean something. It used to mean like, holy shit, they're the best at something, not just, did you see those people on that reality show get into a drunken, naked fight? Wasn't that silly? This is what's happened. We've replaced actual, real talent, who were the most famous people in the world, with just train wrecks. Look at how many views it got. Not look how good it was for my soul. How great is this art for us, famous? Or, did you see that? Oh, like that cringe feeling you almost get. Oh my God, did you see that thing? Oh, that famous person. Or they did this really well. Whatever. I don't know. And I'm not trying to knock the fun that people can find on social media, but I do think we need to get our priorities straight in who we exalt as influencers and leaders and people that are leading, particularly the children of the world. We watch people, we elevate them by our subscribing to their channels, to their feeds, to their things. I don't care if you call it a guilty pleasure. It is, you are still condoning it. Know it. So unless you want that person and their particular vibe to be leading the youth of America, perhaps think twice before subscribing. That's all. Well, it's more than that, isn't it? But Anyway, yeah, Frank Sinatra. Oh, yeah, hi, buddy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Hey, where you going? Hey, where you going? Yeah, oh, gosh. Oh, gosh, you're so handsome. Yeah, try to get that tail. Try to get that tail. Oh, he's just the best. Oh, guys, we're almost at 5,000. Okay, I'm gonna stay on until we get to 5,000. Yeah. So Frank Sinatra was like, he was actual famous. He was actual classy. Look, was he a super broken dude? Also, and did a bunch of shit that I'm sure particularly nowadays are morally questionable or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying he was a perfect person, but I will say that he was an incredible talent at an incredible time. That's yeah, I mean, Frank Sinatra. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, oh, please be true. In other words, I love you. Ooh, ooh. See, there you go. You see, you triggered me with some Sinatra, and then we get to, finish up this long mental health rant with some tunage. Well done. Do I listen to soft rock? I don't know. I think that depends on your definition of soft rock. I'm sure there's like categories of soft rock that no, not so much, but there's some stuff that's a little more chill that I'm into, Any other preguntas? Come on, guys, let's get to 5,000. Anybody out there got some cheese they can spread on this Active Minds fundraiser? I would love it if you could. If not, that's fine too. Again, there's no pressure. I love that we're already up to almost 4,900. How's your wedding song? Come on. That's a great choice for a wedding song. She gets too hungry for dinner at 8. She loves the theater but never comes late. She doesn't bother with those people she hates. That's why the lady is a tramp. Doesn't like crap games with barons or earls. Won't go to Harlem in ermine and pearls. No, she won't dish the dirt with the rest of the girls. No, that's why the lady is a tramp. She loves the free, fresh wind in her hair, light without care. She's broke, but it's okay. California's so cold and so damp. Oh, that's why the lady. That's why the lady. That's why the lady is a tramp. Yeah, we got the 5,000. We did it. I'm singing for my lunch today, folks. Man, it's hot and sticky outside, y'all. We did it. Okay, cool. I'm going to end her right there, y'all. Mwah! I love you. God bless you. Please, 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 please be kind to yourself. Love yourself. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. Let the pressures that are being thrown on top of you, either by yourself or others, fade. Take deep breaths. Love each other. We can do this. I believe that we can, but I do also believe that path is love, and solely love, and not fear. No fear, love. The road to love. Let's go. The river to love. Let's all row there together. Okay. We'll see you soon.